Hello and welcome to Motors for the Masses, and this week I want to have a look at some bikes that were released at Eicma last week and are going to hopefully be at Motorcycle Live in the NEC in Birmingham next week. I couldn't go to Eicma this year unfortunately, but I am going to Motorcycle Live on Monday, so I'll check those out there. But I'm just going to run through some bikes that not have just been released, but ones I'm really interested in. There's going to be some that I really want to ride and some that are okay, but not my style. I just want to go through some bikes and then talk a little bit about what I think about them. Nearer the time, obviously, if I can get my hands on some of them, hopefully I can get my hands on quite a few of them because I've got some other stuff coming up soon, so stay tuned for that in a later video. So let's roll the intro and get cracking. So first of all, let's start with the Aprilia RS 457, another sports bike from Aprilia, which they do very well. A lovely looking bike. I'm not really a sports bike kind of person because they tend to hurt my wrists leaning over like that. But again, a very good bike. I can see it being very popular indeed. A nice looking bike, and I think obviously it's going to be pretty quick. Now, for the past few years, at least, adventure bikes have been coming through thick and fast. Many of them. And Benelli is no exception. They've already got the TRK with the 502 and the 702X, which I shall be getting my hands on very soon. But they've introduced the new BRX 300cc. Now, again, 300cc, I've got my own views about that. Obviously, you've got your 125s in the UK, usually a 150 in the rest of the world. And then they go to 300. I think it's a decent range to go for, as long as it's got enough power to make it worth going from a 125 to a 300. And this BRX looks pretty nice. I'm keen to get my hands on that and see what it's all about. What I do like the look of are the new Tornado range. They've got the R3, the R4, and the R5. Now these are 300cc, 400cc and 500cc Benelli Tornadoes. Now the Benelli Tornado was always a favourite of mine, especially with those twin fans at the back. And nothing really has been produced since that. It's quite a unique concept. And they're not doing that on this. It's a shame really, because I do love that twin fan concept. It's just very Benelli-esque and it's just, oh, it looks awesome. Looks awesome. Really wish I'd have bought one before the price went through the roof. I had the opportunity about 3 years ago to buy for £3 a fully carboned Benelli Tornado with the fans. When they weren't expensive, you can get them for £2.5 back then, easily. And I didn't buy it, and now you've got to pay stupid money to get one. Never mind. Anyway, I think this new R3, 4 or 5 range has a bit of CF Moto 450 SR look about it. What do you think? And lots of other bikes of the sports ilk. But I think it looks stunning, and I am quite keen to get my hands on all three of them to see how they compare with each other. It'd be nice to do all three in one video, the R3, the R4 and the R5. Another bike I'm quite keen to get my hands on, which I have put feelers out for, is the BMW R1300 GS. Another adventure bike, although again it's sort of a sports adventure, isn't it? It's not a full-on adventure. They've got the GS range for that, so they've got that covered. But this new 1300 or R1300 GS it's got a say adventure look about it. I'd say it's sort of verging on Suzuki V-Strom with the looks and the design, but again, it's quite an interesting bike and I'm quite keen to get out on that and see what it's all about. Now, as you'll know from previous videos, I am a bit of a fan of CF Moto. I do like where they go with their bikes, and I do like the range. They've got them covered. The only thing I will say about CF Moto is that they've always got this thing about too many of a very similar CC. So they have the 300, the 450 and the 500, and it just seems too many in that sort of range. I mean, it was before 250, 300 and then 400. Now they're going 300, 450, 500. I don't know if that's necessary. CF Moto have been missing a 125 from their range since forever in the UK, but that is being addressed, so I shall talk about that in a second. But they are doing this 300, 450 and 500 range, and I don't know if that's necessary. I really think maybe they should, yes, have a 300, because it's a good transition from a 125 to a 300, and then go to an A2 compatible 500. And then you've got your 600cc that's full license jobby. I just don't know if that's the one in the middle isn't really necessary. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. But this 450 MT, I think it looks fantastic. Now, I love the MT range. The 650 MT, great bike. The 800 MT, an amazing bike. I love that. Love the looks, love the feel, love the ride, as you can see in my previous videos on it. But this 450 MT, I think, yes, that hits the mark quite nicely. It's a great CC for the A2 compliant bike, and it's got a great look about it. And if it's going to be CF Moto usual quality, I don't think it's going to be a bad bike at all, and I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that one. Now, what has been teased is this CF Moto 500 SR. As you know, I love the 450, that nice 270-degree crank, parallel twin, raspy little sounding bike. Great ride, and I'm keen to see what this 500 is like in comparison, whether it's pointless or whether it's worth going that extra bit for that 500cc. So we'll be keen to have a look at that one in the future. And of course, they have been talking about this NK125 concept. Well, again, it looks like the other NKs in the range, so they've got the styling down. I'm assuming they're still using Kiska, being part of KTM and being designed like KTM's are by Kiska, so we'll see. But yeah, I like that. I like that. It's got a nice sort of modern street bike, sort of futuristic look about it, and I think they've nailed the looks. That they can't really go far wrong with the looks of the bikes. They really do know what they're talking about. And that brings me neatly onto the bike that I've been waiting to see for such a long time, and that is the NK800 C22 concept. Stop making concepts, bring out that bike in that concept format, because it looks amazing. I love the look of that. It's very appealing to me, simply because, I mean, as you know, I've just got rid of my MV Agusta Dragster RR. I love the look of that. It's an awesome looking bike, and this CF Moto is in that sort of range, sort of MT, Yamaha MT, MV Agusta Dragster RR styly, or brutally styly, and I want to see that bike in the flesh, and I want to be on it. I've got genuine love for that bike. Anyway, let's move on before I get too excited. Well, that does bring me on to the CF Moto MTX, and that, again, following on from their usual bikes, looks fantastic. Keen to get out on that and see what that looks like on the road and off-road also, so stay tuned for that one, because I really want to be out on that. Now, Ducati have always sort of nailed it in looks and performance department, and the new 916 is not any exception. Sorry, its proper title, Panigale V4 SP2 916. I mean, it's a great looking bike. I don't know if it's for me, because again, it's got that sort of Fireblade feel, Yamaha R1 feel, leaning over, hurting your wrist style. you know, call me what you like. It's just not the style for me. Don't get me wrong, it's stunning. It's a beautiful looking bike, but it's not my style. I'd like to have a go on one just to see what it's like, but you know, we'll see about that one. I'm sure people will be flooding to it. You know, the superbike ilk will love it, I'm sure. Which brings me on to the new Fireblade. Now, CBR 600 RR, there's a new one of those coming out. Again, it's another mid-range superbike. But they've also got the new Fireblade, which seems to come out every 12 minutes with a new, slightly different design from the previous one. Again, they've nailed it in the looks department. They've nailed it in the performance department. I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic bike. That's in the sort of the same range as the other super bikes that people like, you know, the Kawasaki ZX-10R, the Panigale, the R1, that sort of style. Again, not really for me. And I can safely say I've never ridden a Fireblade. I've been offered several times, but other people's bikes, and I don't want to damage other people's bikes. I've never been out and sought a ride on a Fireblade, and maybe I should. Yes, I'm sure I should. I'm sure it's a fantastic ride, but again, it's just that sort of super bike. Okay, I mean, I like bikes that have got something slightly different about it, which neatly brings me on to this, the Honda Hornet CB1000R. Ooh, yes. Now, as you know, I've done a review on the 750. It was a nice bike, good bike, rides well, lovely, yes, great. The 1000, I do like a 1000. I do have the Honda Hornet 900 from 2003 in my garage. But this 1000, I'm quite keen to get out on that and see what that's all about, because that looks nice, and it's just, yes, I do like that naked look in a bike. Well, and women, obviously. Now, Kawasaki also went with the times and brought out a hybrid range. Okay. I don't know how I feel about hybrids. It depends how that's going to be used. If it's going to be a hybrid as in electric with a bit of engine, great. Or if they use the hybrid to boost the power of the combustion engine, then I'm sure that'll be better. But I don't know exactly too much about it because I haven't really looked a huge amount into it. And I should, because it's the future. And I will do. So I'll be keen to get out on one and see what it's like in comparison to a combustion engine bike alongside it. It's never going to have the sound, and that's the bit for me that's a bit, don't know. But I'm open to, you know, be persuaded. As you know, I took a ride, drove the Mustang Mach-E in a review that I did, and I was very, very surprised and pleasantly surprised by that. Doesn't have the sound of a Mustang, and as far as I'm concerned, it shouldn't be called a Mustang, but let's not delve into that. But yes, as a car in its own right, it was great. And I'm sure these are great. But it's just, bikers like a certain thing about a bike. They like the sound, the feel, and I'm sure it's going to be fast. Must have an open mind, Mark. Must have an open mind about electric. Anyway, what they are bringing out also, Kawasaki, is the 500 range. You've got the 500 Ninja and the Z500. Now, the street-looking bike, the Z500, yeah, again, great. It's sort of the same thing as the CB500 or even the Honda Hornet, perhaps. But again, it's not really for me. I can see it being a fantastic bike for those jumping from 125 to an A2 compliant bike. And that's the good thing about it. Both the Ninja 500 and the Z500 are A2 compatible bikes. And I think that will be a good seller on its own. Great looking street bike. Again, Kawasaki know what they're doing in terms of looks. They've sort of nailed the looks quite nicely. Ninja 500, again, a sports bike. Not really my personal style, but they do look stunning. They do it very well. So again, keen to get out on those and see what they feel like. Now, KTM have often been out there on their own in terms of looks. Being partnered with CF Moto, or should I say CF Moto being partnered with KTM, being the bigger company, their looks are going in a sort of unusual angle like KTM, and I like that. I don't know if I like all the styles of KTM's. I think they've got a bit too unique sometimes. Their adventure bike with that big sort of slab on the fairing is not really for me, but I can see why people like them. Performance is out of this world on KTM's. The only experience I've had of a KTM is my 300 EXCF, sorry, which, yes, I crashed because I'm not very good at off-roading. But yeah, there you go, the KTM 990 Duke. So I'm sure that'll be a fantastic bike. I don't know if I'm that bothered about riding it. I mean, I will if I'm offered one, but I don't know how I feel about it until I get on it. I'm sure it'll be great, but I don't know. I mean, aesthetics of bikes are what I like a lot, to be honest. Now, another manufacturer that's pretty much out there on its own in terms of style and engine design is Moto Guzzi, and they've done it again with their new range. The Stelvio is one of them. They've got that sort of 90-degree transverse V-twin engine, which is quite unique, really. You don't see that. It's like BMW with their sort of boxer style engine. Yeah, the Stelvio, again, another adventure bike. It's got a bit of CF Moto-ish, adventure-y style. Okay, not too dissimilar to the BMW, not too dissimilar to the Harley Davidson adventure bike, really, apart from that front light. It's, again, it's just another adventure bike. But I like the look, and I do love that engine style, and I'm quite keen to get out on that and see how that performs, because that does look nice. I do like that. And they've got their more sort of rustic design V85 TT. Again, another adventure style bike, but I love those twin round headlights they've got, and it reminds me a little bit of a Himalayan, like a posher version of a Royal Enfield Himalayan. Now, another brand I am a fan of is Moto Marini. I love their Escape. I love their Scrambler, their Mezzo Scrambler. It's just, again, awesome designing, that Italian flair. Now, obviously, yes, they're owned by China, but they're still built or assembled in the factory in Trivulzio in Italy. But I just love the way Moto Marini design their bikes, and they put them together so well. Their Escape 650 is brilliant. I love that bike. And they've got some new ones coming out. So they've got the 650 Calibro. Now that is a sort of a street cruiser. I don't know how I feel about street cruisers. Again, when I first started riding, I was all about the Honda Shadow, things like that. But I've kind of sort of moved on to street bikes and scrambler style bikes, so it's not really my style anymore. The way the tank's designed, I think, has got a bit of a Honda Rebel feel about it, sort of mixed in with a bit of a higher sung back end, if you know what I mean, the GV300 style. It's just another bobber Harley-esque style bike, maybe a bit of Vulcan about it. I don't know, and I'm sure it'd be great, and again, be nice. Oh, I tell you what else, 650 Meteor, Royal Enfield 650 Meteor, very similar to that, I would feel. So yeah, I'm keen to get out on that and perhaps test it against the 650 Meteor and see how it compares. But it's not just that, they've got the Cazaro Sport 750 coming out. That looks beautiful. Again, in the same sort of era or area as a Fireblade or an R1 sports bike, maybe Triumph 675, something like that. But it looks stunning, and I'm sure it's going to perform well, so I'm quite keen to get my hands on one of those. Again, another one with Moto Marini, the Milano. I don't know how I feel about the exhausts on that, but the style of the bike, sort of a street cruiser, or just a touring style bike, a generic everyday commuter style bike, looks lovely. Very keen to get my hands on that. I do like that indeed. But one I'm most excited about is the new Escape 1200. Looks nice, although a little bit sort of verging on KTM slab style, or Tenere style fairing on that. I don't know if I think it's as pretty as the Escape 650, but being that 1200 engine, I'm very keen to get my hands on that. As you know, I had the Triumph Explorer 1215. Absolutely loved that. Styling as well as ride, both superb. Just a little bit heavy, you know, getting on for 270 kilos once you've got the boxes on there. But this, yeah, I'm very keen to try this. Very, very keen. Moto Marini Escape 1200. I don't know where I go to ride it, but I need to get on that bike as soon as I can. I love the look of that. Love it. Well, I say look. I love the look of what it's about. Another bike I like the look of, again, very similar in design as all the others I mentioned, is the new MV Agusta LXP. Got to get this right. Orioli. Got to be careful how you say that. He's going to say Areola. Anyway, their adventure bike, MV Agusta. Now, they're only doing 500 of these, which means two things. One, there's not going to be many available if the Italian brand bike breaks down in any way. Hopefully not, possibly, maybe, could, who knows. But also, that means it's going to be ridiculously expensive. MV Agusta have never been stupidly expensive, but they have been on the expensive side of the bikes. But as they're only going to do 500, I think it's going to be stupidly expensive, and I don't know how many people are going to want that. I mean, it looks great, and I'm sure it rides superbly. But why only do 500? Seems silly, really. Okay. Now, another bike I am keen to get my hands on is the new Royal Enfield 450 Himalayan, and for two reasons. One, they've gone from the 380 to the 411, now to the 450, and I'd be very keen to see how much extra power that has and how well it rides in comparison to the 411. But another thing is the looks. They've sort of moved a little bit away from that industrial look and gone a bit more stylish. It's still quite industrious, but that has always been the style of the Royal Enfield Himalayan. The Scram became a little bit prettier than the Himalayan, which was always a very popular bike. And this new 450 Himalayan has become a little bit more prettier still than the Scram 411. So I'm quite keen to get my hands on that and see how that fares. Being a 411 engine, 70 miles an hour is about what you would get from that kind of bike. And I'm hoping this will have a bit more oomph. It doesn't have to do mega speeds. I mean, 80 mile an hour would be great as long as it can cruise at that sort of speed once you get on a road that can do 80 mile an hour in Europe, obviously. Yeah, it'd be nice to be able to just sit at 70 without having to worry about planning your hills, you know. I mean, I know a lot of these bikes are used off-road, so 70 mile an hour is irrelevant anyway, but getting to and from, and as you know, we did our 3-day trip with Malcolm and Jamie, who fell in love with the Royal Enfield Himalayan. Malcolm did. But that was a bit sort of underpowered, bearing in mind that had the biggest engine. It's the slowest out of the three, and that's a bit worrying. So yeah, the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450, keen to get on that, very keen to get on that, but it'd be nice if it had more than a 70 mile an hour pinning it sort of speed. So yeah, let's see how that fares. Very keen to try that out. Another one that's coming is the 450 Him E, the electric Himalayan. Again, looks great, but an electric bike, that's meant for off-road. Keen to see what the range is on that and how the performance up and down hills is affected by it being electric, because there's not many plug sockets in mountainsides. So it's great if you do a long journey over the Himalayas being followed by a diesel van with a generator in it. Who knows? Let's see how that one fares anyway. Another bike I like. Now, I did do the Suzuki GSX 8S, but another one coming is the 8R. Quite keen to try that. Again, got the same sort of sports bike look about it as a lot of the other ilk. And the 8S did ride really nicely, so I'm assuming it's the same engine, but just a more sportier style. But it'd be nice to see how that rides in comparison. You know, I'm quite keen to get out on that. I don't know how I'm going to feel with the riding position from a personal point of view, but obviously we'll find out when we get on it. So I shall be in contact with Suzuki to get on that as soon as I can. But yeah, quite keen to try that one. And another one I want to get my hands on is the new GSX S1000 GX, another adventure style bike, which I would put in the same group as the CF Moto, probably the same group as Moto Marini as well. So it'd be nice to try and find out what that one's like. Again, similar to a V-Strom, that sort of style. A nice looking bike, again. Suzuki do know what they're talking about in terms of looks. What I often find with Suzuki is that they've got the big front end and then a small rear end. I always found that about Suzukis. They've always got that massive front end and then it sort of gets smaller and smaller as it goes down the bike. And I don't know how I feel about that. Again, it's unique, it's different, but I don't know if I like it or not. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm sure you love it, some of you. Another bike that I put the feelers out for and I'm waiting for a phone call to say, yes, we've got it, come and ride it, is the new Triumph Scrambler 400X. I like the look of that. Scrambler know what they're doing in terms... Triumph know what they're doing in terms of scramblers with the 1200, and they've got a new 1200 Scrambler coming as well with those twin exhausts down the side. Again, quite unique. Don't know if I like the exhaust down the side. AJS tried that with the Desert Scrambler. I say tried that, they sort of moved it on from the bike of old. I don't know how I feel about exhaust being right by your leg. Sort of like you've got to be conscious to move your leg out of the way in case you start getting a bit hot. But yeah, it's different. The style is nice. Obviously that bike's been used a lot in Bond films, or a particular Bond film, I can't remember which, one with Daniel Craig in it anyway. And then the Triumph 400X is the one I'm most keen to get on to see how this mid-range Triumph fares. They don't really do mid-range, do they, Triumph? They sort of go ultra mid-range, like 600cc, upwards to the bigger varieties and the 1200s. So, you know, the 400 is quite a special thing for Triumph, I think, and it's nice for them to break into this A2 compliant license category. So I'm keen to see what that's like. Really keen to see what that's like, the 400X. And obviously, combined with that, they've got the Speed 400 as well. Again, styling is lovely. That sort of retro style is quite in still, and I don't know if that's going to go away. I think that's going to stay in for quite a while. So yeah, the Speed 400 and this 400X Scrambler. Be nice to see how that fares. The new version of the Triumph Tiger 900 is coming also. I do want to try that. I love the style of this new version of the 900. Again, another adventure style bike, which is also mostly probably going to be used on road. Yeah, quite significantly lighter than the 1200cc, and which is significantly lighter by about 30 kilos than my old 1200cc. So I'm keen to try these. My 1200 was amazing, as I said. Love the performance of that, but I don't know if I could handle, as I get older, the weight which is why I got rid of it. So I'm very keen, because I want to get back on another Triumph Explorer or another Triumph Tiger in my fleet, but a lighter version. So that 900 is quite interesting for me personally. And that brings me finally on to Yamaha with their new MT9. Again, another street looking bike, and I would put that in the same sort of category as the CF Moto NK1 or the MV Agusta Dragster 800 Brutale RR, or that sort of Brutale range bike. So yeah, it's sort of in that category, I would say. Lovely looking bike, great performing bike. People love the MT9. There's loads of them all over the place. I don't know if it's something I would personally buy, but I'm keen to get on it and see what it's all about. But one thing I am very keen on, and I love the look of, is that retro XSR 900 GP. Love that. Looks amazing. Really keen to try that. And that brings me to the end. Thank you very much. Now, I am, as I say, at Motorcycle Live on Monday, so I'll be reporting from there and seeing what it's all about and whether it's worth going. I'm hoping it is. Of late, they've been sort of pretty similar in their styling, but I'm quite surprised that Harley Davidson aren't going to be there. Now, I've never really been bothered about Harley Davidson. It doesn't really bother me. They've got a massive stand usually, and the fact they're not going to Motorcycle Live is quite interesting. But anyway, I am keen to see what is there, so stay tuned for that video coming out. And as I say, I've got some other news coming soon, so stay tuned for that. I've got some more bikes arriving to review, so stay tuned for those. And of course, more on the Mustang as well, because the exhaust is finished and things are happening. More things are happening, so stay tuned for that also. And that brings me to the end of this episode. Thank you. In English, that is, thank you very much for watching. If you have any comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Anything else, please let me know that. Please click the notification bell. If you haven't subscribed already, then please subscribe. As I say, that notification bell will hopefully, if it works properly, notify you of future upcoming videos. And that's all I have to say. So until next time, please ride and drive carefully, but have fun. Bye-bye.